Om Sri Venkateshaya Namaha. The most frequent question I used to face throughout my career has been, how come you are a scientist and a priest at the same time? I used to joke that Lord Balaji wanted a scientist priest for a change after a long time. The priest profession is to deal with spirituality, yoga and related subjects which are metaphysical. And a scientist deals with all physical dimension only, which things exist in physical form. But I used to contemplate that science and spirituality are not two different subjects, but the same subject at two different levels. Where science and reasoning ends, spirituality begins. A simple example, the scientist needs certain sophisticated equipment to observe things which are too small or which are too large or which are at a long distance and which he cannot see with the naked eye. Take for example the microorganisms, the bacteria, the diatoms, or the unicellular organisms, protozoans or cylinderates. You cannot see them with the naked eyes. Or even the individual cells in your own body, or the subcellular particles like nucleus, nucleolus, mitochondria, microsomes. These are all not visible to the naked eye, but you know they exist. You need a simple magnifying glass or a simple microscope, a dissection microscope, or a compound microscope, or an electron microscope. As the complexity, as the size decreases, you go for more complicated viewing equipment in the lab. In the same way, you know that there are so many astral bodies in the space. Satellites are there, planets are there, stars are there, galaxies are there, nebulae are there, black holes are there, and very distant, unknown celestial objects are there. But you can't see them with a naked eye. You need a simple telescope or a Hubble telescope for distant galaxies, or the latest James Webb Space Electron Telescope, which recently has claimed to have seen the boundaries of our known universe. Just because you can't see them with the naked eye, it's not that they don't exist. You need special equipment. Just like that, God is there. You have ample evidences for the existence of God. A very simple explanation is, the entire creation is there. You can see the creation from microorganisms to the distant galaxies. And it is a thumb rule that whenever there is a creation, there should be a creator. And the creator is more complicated than the creation. So to understand God, you need special equipment. Not just because you can't see Him, you can't feel Him, you can't hear Him, that there is no God. You have to train your mind. Your mind is the equipment you have. You have to train your mind. You have to focus. And the training methods include meditation, yoga, tapasya, and there are so many other higher forms of training the mind to feel the God. And God is a metaphysical dimension, not the physical dimension you can feel with your physical senses like sight, touch, taste, sound. So, a scientist has got his own limitations. As far I am concerned, my work is with the subcellular particles of liver, how the drugs act on the liver tissue at different levels, and how the liver cells behave under different biochemical conditions like the levels of protein fractions like albumins and globulins. So I separate the subcellular particles of liver and study the behavior of all these cells under different experimental conditions and arrive at a conclusion that the concentration of the protein fractions like alpha, beta, gamma globulins and albumins on the nitrogen metabolism of liver tissues, which is the most essential system in our entire body. More than a brain, more than a heart, liver controls all the biochemical reactions of the entire body, and very slight variations in the ammonia concentrations or carbon dioxide concentrations in the tissues will be fatal to the organism. But after going to the subcellular particles, in literature I have studied about the molecules, macromolecules, molecules, cells, and the subcellular particles like electrons, neutrons, photons. And now, more and more complicated, more and more simpler issues are coming up like very unstable subcellular particles, unstable things like God's particle, which exist only for some microseconds and disappear. Very complicated. But after that, what? Who is creating? And how they are behaving under particular conditions? And what will be the effect of these things on the creation, on the human life or the animal life around us or the life of our own planet? These very simple particles, they behave according to a set pattern. And who is the controller of all these set patterns? The quest for all these questions, they stop there. Now the spirituality enters. Now the creation, the creator will enter the scene, and the creator is the controller of the entire creation. He is mentioned as Brahmahanda Antar Bahirvyaptaya Namaha. He exists inside the universe and outside the universe. As a scientist, we don't know the limits of our universe. We have a known universe limits only. There is much unknown universe. And the entire universe is now understood to be inside a very thin membrane, and that goes well with the Vedic word Brahmanda, the huge egg. So the entire universe is in the form of a huge egg, Brahmanda. So it took us so many thousands of years to arrive at a concept which our rishis have given millennia ago. And now we started talking about multi-universes. But God is mentioned as Akhila Andakoti Brahmanda Nayaka, the creator of innumerable universes, multiple universes, billions of universes similar to our own universe. So it goes on, but the human mind has got limited perception. We can't understand beyond a few million light years. We can't understand beyond our own universe. But there are multiple universes, and there is a creator, and he controls everything. And now the concept of the microcosm and macrocosm comes. The microcosm, whatever is in the huge universe, exists inside a single cell in miniature levels. And whatever exists in a single cell at a miniature level exists in the entire universe at a maximum level. That is called microcosm and macrocosm. So all this comes to light when you bridge the science and spirituality. Of course, my destiny was sealed because I am born into a family of priests who had been serving the Lord Venkateshwara in Tirumala temple for 1800 years, for almost 36 generations. And being born into such family as a single child, I have to become a priest. That way, my fate was sealed even by birth. But because of my interest in science and availability of resources and availability of educational institutions in my hometown, Tirupati, and because of my interest in science, I pursued till PhD. And fortunately or unfortunately, I was not able to follow it up after PhD because I had to enter the temple after my father was gone. And I had to refuse offers of postdoctoral research on human malignant tissues from South Carolina University, because a priest should not travel out of the country. That was the rule set by our Agam Shastra. Otherwise, I will be losing eligibility to enter the sanctum sanctorum and touch the main deity and do all the rituals for him. So my fate was sealed. I had to come back. But that practice, that experience I had as a research scholar in the biochemistry lab, molecular biology lab, under the guidance of one of the most brilliant scientists of our university, Professor Swami, who was the pioneers of molecular biology. I did very good work. My work was published in American journals and Indian journals, and I was awarded a PhD without a viva voce or a query or a resubmission. And I'm thankful to God for blessing me with such a knowledge and taking me into His possession, into His service. So what I wanted to say is, science and spirituality are not two different subjects. Science is at the physical dimension and spirituality at a metaphysical dimension. And a scientist has to practice, train his mind to understand the spiritual path of life. And spirituality is a form of higher science for higher minds. Om Sri Venkateshaya Namah.